For those of you who watched CoolCon earlier back in March, you might recognize this contraption. I called this High Tide. Now, you're probably wondering where we are right now. This is Shiverburn, my first ever parkour map, and at CoolCon, I announced that this map was going to be receiving a remastered update. And this was one of the features that was going to be included in that remastered update. So, as you can see, we've got rising lava. This is cool in and of itself, but how do you go about making this? How does it work? And can you put this everywhere? Well, I've got to say yes. Yes, it does. So the objective of this is you'll notice certain platforms get engulfed by the lava when it reaches what I like to call high tide, as marked by these magma blocks on the walls. If you're not standing on one of these, you're gonna get engulfed up. So you kind of have to parkour your way from platform to platform up until you make it onto one of these little safe zones. And you just have to keep this going all the way to the end. So how does this work? And how do I go about building this in my world? Well, two things. This can be built anywhere. You just need command blocks and a pre-designated location. And second of all, it doesn't have to be a rectangle like I have shown here. It can be any shape that you want it to be, and I'll discuss that later when we talk about rising lava. So if we come out here, I'm just going to stand on this pressure plate real quick. I'll take us to the train section in case you were wondering where this is on the map. Here's a little bit of the exterior. But right up here, we have all the command blocks that allow us to create this contraption. And I'm demonstrating this on Shiverburn, as this is where I have this currently set up. So how does this work? And how can I set it up in my world? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad you asked. Let's get right into it. So the first things you're going to want to note is this is just a massive redstone clock. That's all it is. A bunch of repeaters that lead around in a loop. You also recognize this little contraption here, this little space here. If I grab a redstone block, this is what I like to call, well, this was a prototype. I built this before I developed the more simplified version, but this design works. This is what I like to call the button emulator. So basically, if you push a button, the button's actually somewhere in here. I don't have easy access to it. I have to go inside this giant red box. Well, if I press a button, the button will place the redstone block here. And you'll see that starts our redstone clock. Let's just break that so we can see this in full effect. Now, as the pulse is going around, all these command blocks are firing when the pulse hits it. Now, this command block, if you're wondering, it just sets this block space back to air. That's what actually gives the button press emulating. So, what do all these command blocks do? And how does it all work? That pressure plate at the end, by the way, it places a redstone block here. And that locks this repeater, which means when the signal comes around, it stops here. And of course, the button that I have down there clears this block space when you press it as well. So that way it unlocks this. So how does this all work? Well, first of all of these commands are basically the same. All it's doing is filling these block spaces with lava, except for one thing. It's replacing only the air in those block spaces. If we go back down, you can see I've got lots of blocks in this area. If it were to just set it to lava without only replacing the air, all of these blocks would be removed and it'd just be like a 3D eraser. It's kind of like a 3D printer, but it just erases everything. So how would I set this up? Well, first of all, you have to have a base area where you want this to go. Initially, it needs to be some sort of rectangle or square, something that has 4 corners, because that's how it's going to work. So what you're going to do, is you're going to place your command block here. Actually, forget that. First step is you're going to want to have a base lava level. As you can see, that's just this lava level right here. There's nothing below that. This is what I like to call the baseline, or load tide. We place our command block here. We type in the command /fill. We click these coordinates, control middle click, grab that command block, and run it all the way to the opposite end of the course. And then we click these new commands, and /set it to Minecraft lava. When you hit the spacebar, you get 5 options here. We're going to go ahead and select replace. And then Minecraft air. Done. And we can get rid of that command block. Control middle click this. And then if we go back to our little hole that we made in the roof of this building, if we place it next to this one and do a little quick compare and contrast, these commands are exactly the same. So that's one command block done. You rinse and repeat for all the levels, all the Y levels you want to do. So, next, come down here. Instead of this first layer, we do this layer, and then this layer, and then this layer, and then that layer, this layer here. This is high tide. And all you gotta do from there, once you have all those commands ready, is set a set amount of time it takes for one layer to rise. I have 3 repeaters set to 4 ticks, and then a singular regular repeater there with just 1 tick in between each of these. I think that's... I'm not sure the exact math on it. Give me a second. Nah, I'm not gonna bother with that. But anyway, we have a certain amount of delay here between the layers rising. If we place our redstone block here, it gets deleted. If we go down here, lag spikes. Hold on. It's a little bit... Ah, there we go. Sorry, I was having lag spikes. As you can see, there is a set delay between each of these layers coming up and then falling back down. Now what's important here, you don't do the same on both sides. What you need to do is take these command blocks and then place them here on the opposite end, is if you need to modify them so it sets that block spaces to air but replaces the lava. You need to switch these two. You do the same directly across, no changes, no additional changes to the command blocks. And then of course you have a bit of a longer delay here that signifies the time that high tide will be risen and how long low tide will last. Yeah, I should have used the word last. And then we have this right here. You can set this anywhere on the contraption, but just a locked repeater will stop the clock. I recommend placing it at the end of low tide, as that means the lava for sure will be at low tide when you start it back up again. And of course, you just break that redstone block. You want to make sure that redstone block is kept there, so that way if like the circuit is here and then the redstone block just gets removed, then obviously it's not very effective. You want to make sure this stays there until you next turn the contraption on. So yeah, that's all of this done. So, as you can see, it just goes around, fills in the layers with minor amounts of lag. I'm assuming you'll have less issues on your computer. And then it stops here. Theoretically, it would just go on forever. So this is high tide done. But what about rising lava? And in order for us to demonstrate rising lava, I'm gonna have to go over into another world and another video. Because, once again, I'm a fool, and I forgot about the 15-minute mark. And although we're only at 10 minutes now, I don't think I'm gonna have enough time in one video. So, another video out in a few more minutes. If you're not watching this when I originally uploaded it, then it should be out now. It'll be in the description, I'm assuming, or part of the playlist. So, go ahead and check out that video if you want to take this up all the way up to build height. And I'm gonna say it's very similar, except if you want to customize the shape of it. So, I'll see you there.